Good evening, everyone. It is 7:30 p.m. We have a quorum with all 4 council members present. I am Mayor Bianca Motley Broom. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Mayor and City Council of the City of College Park. I'm calling the meeting to order at this time. Our first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our next item on the agenda is our invocation that will be handled by Chaplain Walker.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Let us pray. O Lord, our Lord, as we gather tonight for our regular council meeting and the last meeting of the year, assist us in being aware that the work before us are matters of spirit and matters of forms of government for the social life in College Park. Be sensitive, O Lord, to our longings and desirings for the authentic experience of spirit and law working together for the well-being of our community. Help us, O Lord, as we contemplate and reason together to have good deliberations and good decision-making for our community. We have a special request, O Lord, for your angel of inspiration. Come to us in the passing of the old year and the birth of a new year. Help us to be aware that we exist in troubled times. There's political tension, social tension, suffering, and stress as we struggle to be as whole as we can be in this time of difficulty. As our backs are against various walls that have been built by us, walls that we have inherited, walls that protect us, but also walls that keep us estranged. Help us to hold the tension, O God, when we have to struggle to understand between hate and love, between dominance and selfishness and submissiveness, of reason versus raw emotions. Help us to put these walls aside so that we can assist one another in our quest for wholeness. We lift up our mayor and councilman, O God. Receive our thanks for them, for their reasoned and spiritual leadership up to this point. As they contemplate what best forms of social order are needed, that are fair and just for all, we offer our special thanks to them and their work, as well as all the work of those who serve in city government and community life. There's a special focus with pride of the work of our chief of police and our chief of fire and safety and all the department heads who work tirelessly on our behalf to experience the good. Quicken our hearts and minds so that we may be able to take advantage of your inspiring angel that gives new ways of thinking, new paths of action, and new avenues of hope. As we leave here tonight, may we leave knowing that we have done our best to become all that we can be as persons as well as a city. In the name of faith, hope, and love, let the bells of freedom and well-being ring with our honest hopes for College Park, so it can be all it can be. Now, on behalf of the chaplains of the police department, I wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year as we strive to love one another as we love ourselves. In the name of holy love, amen.
Amen.
Amen. Item number 2 is additions, deletions, amendments, or changes to the agenda. Ms. Miller, I believe there are a couple.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, we want to remove item 6I, and we want to add under 10A new business, approval of the food truck ordinance.
I actually have another, and gentlemen, I will apologize. I think this was supposed to be on the agenda, and I need authorization from the body to sign give me one moment here. I had it open. It is an extension on the CDBG funds for the CARES Act funding. It was supposed to end December 31st, and Fulton County Board of Commissioners has agreed to extend it to June 30th, 2022. That is the extent of the amendment. I can share it with the body, but I do need authorization to. I think we've already extended the. I think we've already exhausted the funds anyway, but the Fulton County Board of Commissioners did agree to extend the deadline. So that has been something that I've been. Mr. Denmark, did you have an opportunity to review that subrecipient agreement?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay. All right. Because I couldn't tell from the electronics. So do you have any issues with it? Mr. Denmark? Mr. Denmark, I can't hear you for some reason.
I said it was straightforward. Can you hear me?
You're breaking up for some reason.
Can you hear me?
Not really.
I said it was straightforward.
Okay. All right. So I think we can put that on, that is 10B. Extension of the grant term for the CDBG CARES Act grant.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Those 3 items, removing 6I and adding 10A and 10B. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Councilman Clay. Thank you, Councilman Gay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, hearing none, we will move. Those additions and deletions have been updated. Item 3 is our regular session minutes from November 15th. I have a couple of additions or changes on those. Anyone else have?
I got mine in. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good, Mayor.
All right. Packet page 13, line 287. It says Mayor Motley Broom said those numbers are up, not in line. That doesn't make any sense. Is there an opportunity for us to go back and listen to the recording on that? I don't think that was what I said in
Yes,
relation to the, thank you.
You're welcome.
Packet page 25, line 832. Oh, this is, that action is the same action as that starts on line 818 on the previous page. I think the action was for an authorization to issue credits to commercial accounts that have cooling towers, not the Main Street selfie mural project.
We'll fix that.
All right. And packet page 30, line 1080. It is Allen Vigil Ford, not Allen Vigil Food. So that's all I had. Is there a motion
So moved
with changes?
with the changes.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, it is unanimous. From workshop session, item 3B from November 15th.
I move to approve as presented.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Clay. And is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. All right. So the next item on the agenda is the introduction of new employees by Director of Human Resources and Risk Management, Krista Gilbert.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to, excuse me, introduce the new hires for the month of November. And they are April Rice, Darius Collins, and Marshall Stanford, and they are all labor ones with Public Works Department. Those are our new employees for the month of November.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert.
Welcome.
Welcome to everyone.
Welcome aboard.
Happy to have you here. All right. Next item on the agenda is a presentation of a proclamation in recognition of the outstanding achievements of the College Park 14 and under volleyball team in the 2021 GRPA State Tournament. This is pretty exciting for us because these ladies went undefeated. All right, let me go ahead and read the proclamation. Whereas the College Park 14 and under volleyball team had an impressive undefeated regular season record of 8-0, whereas the volleyball team played in a middle school fall league, whereas the volleyball team season was from September 11th through November 6th, 2021. Whereas on the weekend of November 12th to 13th, 2021, the College Park volleyball team traveled to Savannah for the Georgia Recreation and Parks Association State Volleyball Tournament. Whereas the 14 and under team was the first volleyball team to ever enter the GRPA State Volleyball Tournament for the City of College Park Recreation and Cultural Arts Department. Whereas in the GRPA Volleyball State Tournament, the team went undefeated and won the 14 and under state championships. Whereas the team competed with only 8 girls on their roster, whereas these ladies were coached by Catherine Murray, owner of Dream Chasers Club Volleyball, Inc. Her assistant coaches are Lydia and Ashley Elmore. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the mayor and city council of the city of College Park that the College Park volleyball team is recognized for their hard work, dedication, and their accomplishments during the competitive 2021-22 season at the local and state level of competition, proclaimed the 6th day of December 2021. Congratulations, ladies. This is a huge accomplishment.
Yes, it is. Mayor Broom, Michelle Johnson. We got Kirkland Arnold and the team girls are all there at Wyatt Center.
Can you see them?
We can see you if you want to step aside and let the girls be seen.
Oh, can you see
There
them?
they are.
There they are.
Congratulations, ladies.
Congratulations, ladies. We are so proud of you. This is a
Good job.
huge accomplishment, and you make us proud every single day. Did the coach want to say anything? Is she on with us?
Yes, I do want to say it's an honor and I'm grateful for the opportunity to make a difference in these girls' life and have an opportunity to meet the mayor and have them also meet the mayor. So we are grateful to College Park for giving us the opportunity. Thank you.
Yay! Thank you. So we're gonna build a dynasty, right? So
Almost definitely.
okay. Okay. And I think that some of the coaches have a connection
They
to
do.
another outstanding individual of our College Park team. Is that correct?
That's absolutely right. Chief Elmore's daughters helped out with the team, so they are coaching with the team. So we are giving back. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yes, we are.
Fantastic. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Congrats, girls.
Thank you.
All right. Well, the next item on our agenda is a COVID-19 update. I see Chief Taylor on the call. Are you going to be heading this one up?
I think I have it.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we want to give you an update of the COVID and what's going on with it, and possibly the new Omicron variant. We do have Dr. Elijah Robinson, our medical director, with us tonight, who will be providing that information. Dr. Robinson.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the updates on the Omicron variant. So I'll go ahead and first say that there is still a lot of unknown information about it, right? It was first introduced in November 23rd. But what we do know is that it is a variant of concern, and meaning that it can be or has the potential to cause severe symptoms, to have more increase in the way it spreads. But preliminary data in South Africa has shown that it hasn't really been that. But again, this is very, very early data. We don't have enough data to really make general assumptions. So the best advice that I've been giving everyone, and you know what the Department of Public Health is saying, is to treat it like the Delta variant, and the way to get vaccinated, to wear your mask, hand hygiene, treat it as that, and that way we'll be prepared in case it is actually the worst nightmare. But right now, we really don't know much information about it.
Any questions for Dr. Robinson?
Is there, yes, I have one. Doctor, is there any indication that it is not just airborne? I mean, the Delta variant and the other variants have, I think, been primarily airborne. Is there any indication that this is maybe spread by touch and what have you?
So to answer that question, it still has the same properties as COVID-19, meaning it is primarily what we call droplets. So it can pass through aerosolized mucus, sneezes, coughs. So there's no indication that it is what we call contact at that point in time. Now, with that said, you know, if you sneeze on the counter or sneeze on a surface and then you go back and touch it, that aerosolized, that moisture, water particle, you know, and touch, if you touch that piece of counter, doorknob, whatever it is, and then touch your face, you do have an increased risk of obtaining or getting COVID-19, but it's still not considered contact, if that makes sense.
Right, right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Dr. Robinson? All right. Hearing none. Chief Elmore, is that the conclusion of the update?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Item 4D. Mayor and council consideration and action on a resolution regarding legislation for our charter amendment. And I think Ms. Patrick Hardy is on vacation. So Mr. Denmark.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This issue is related to the vote that the council took at the last meeting with regard to a charter amendment. As we all know, this charter amendment related to term limits. Our current charter does not impose term limits. The new charter would in fact do so. The issue, however, is that this charter amendment cannot be affected by a home rule amendment. Rather, it requires local legislation to be enacted by the General Assembly. Our first step in this regard is to draft a resolution suggesting to our legislative delegation from both Fulton and Clayton counties that we enact this charter amendment, and our local delegation would shepherd the legislation through the full General Assembly, hopefully ultimately receiving a signature by the governor. And so now before you this evening is the resolution with regard to this legislation that this council approved at the previous meeting.
Mr. Denmark, does this preclude a council member who has served 2 terms from running for mayor?
Yes, it would, unless there's just that intervening period where the council member did not serve. So it would have to be a 4-year cooling off period, for lack of a better term, and then that individual would be eligible to run for the office of mayor. In other words, this legislation does not draw a distinction between
the offices themselves. It just,
yes, ma'am.
It's serving.
Yes, ma'am.
Another question. So this would also, since we are off terms, like since we have staggered terms, would a council member, let's say, whose term ended this year, and I understand that it wouldn't take effect, but let's say that there's a 2-year cooling off period between, say, a council member, the end of a council member's term and mayor, for instance, would that person then have to wait 6 years?
No.
Okay, I thought it said that it would have to be 4.
Yeah, it's 4 years, but partial terms don't count as a term. So on the date this legislation is enacted, whoever happens to be in office at that date and time would be a partial term, and none of those partial terms would count in terms of the calculation.
What about a partial term? Someone came in to replace someone who passed away, let's say, in office or moved out of town. So they serve a year or 2 as a partial term. Are they still able to serve 2 additional terms?
Yeah, well,
Yes.
if it's, partial terms, the way it is written, a partial term would not count towards the calculus.
But so effective January 1st. So what any of us have served prior to January 1st, 2023 does not count.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Okay, but I don't think I phrased my earlier question well enough. Because the elections for wards 2 and 4 happen 2 years before and after mayor 1 and 3. So if someone is in wards 2 or 4, their term expires, would they not, and they've done 2 terms, would they not be eligible to run for mayor 2 years later? Do you understand?
I mean, I guess, Mayor, in your scenario, when are you proposing that the legislation would have taken effect? Because I think it's a partial term, at least for sitting council members, based on when the legislation takes effect.
I mean, let's say I don't really care at what point in the future. I mean, let's say that there is a council person in wards 2 or 4 who served 2 terms, but then wishes to run for mayor.
Right.
Does that person have to wait 2 years or 6 to run?
Yeah, well, yeah, if that individual wants to run for mayor, now I understand it would actually be 6 because that's when
That's what I thought.
the 4 years required would be up. But then it just so happens that even when those 4 years are up, office of mayor isn't up for election at that time. So they'd have to wait the additional 2 years for the mayor seat to be eligible or up for election.
Is that what we want?
I have a comment. So I sponsored this action. So it was not my intent that this is based on your position. Anywhere else, you can say you wanted to run for mayor, and after you do your full term, Winston, I was saying that this wasn't. You should be able to run for anybody's position, and this was only affect you in the term that you're in. Like the mayor only has 2 full terms. Council members only have 2 full terms. I didn't suggest that this is specific for your seat.
Right, and it's not, sir. The issue in the mayor scenario is that the council member would have had the 4-year cooling off period. Now, if they chose to run for another council seat that was available, they could run right then and there. However, it just so happens that the office of the mayor would not be up for re-election or for election for another 2 years. So it's not that the person would be disqualified based on what particular office it is. The person would be essentially saying, I want to be mayor, so I'm going to wait the additional 2 years for the office of mayor to come open. So it's a disqualification based on an individual's own preference in terms of what office they want to run for. But if they wanted to run for another council seat that was open at the end of that 4 years, they'd be free to do so.
Or the person could just
They have to wait 4 years.
Or they could just vacate their seat in 2 years, give up their term, and run in that cycle.
But they have to have the way this reads is that there's a full 4-year term that they have to cool off. So let's say count wards 1 and 3. Let's say Councilman Clay decided that he wanted to run for mayor. There's a reason I picked you. But if we were doing this a little down the road, he served 2 terms, then he could not then end his council term and then run for mayor, correct? If he served 2 terms per this bill, right?
Right, exactly.
He'd have to wait 4 years and then run.
Exactly.
And the same thing as if the mayor decided to serve 2 terms and then run for council.
Have to wait again.
They have to wait 4 years, right?
That's exactly right.
But it could be as much as 6 years for someone who is in a staggered ward.
Mm-hmm.
Then we would need to make an exception, because then that wouldn't be equitable. In that case, there needs to be an exception in the ordinance, because the goal is to set a term out, not a term and then wait 2 years till you on that person's.
Well, I mean, you could run for council again.
Well, if the person wants to run in another seat, like a mayor or a seat different from theirs, they shouldn't have to wait 6 years. It should just be 4, because they're changing the position. So they should not have to wait 6.
It doesn't distinguish between positions.
It kind of penalizes the people that are in Ward 2 and Ward 4 to wait 6 years, where the people in Ward 1 and 3 and the mayor would just have to wait 4 years.
So Winston, can't you just add a an additional stipulation that if they change seats, that the wait term would be less?
I mean, we could rephrase it or redraft the legislation. Because right now, the conversation that the council is having is really a policy consideration in terms of how the council wants the legislation to read. But right now, yes, there's a 4-year, everybody has the same 4-year cooling off period.
Right.
Everybody is exactly the same. However, the one fly in the ointment is if a council member from districts for wards 2 or 4 wanted to be mayor, based just on the way it fell, yet their wait would actually be 6 years, but not because they're disqualified for 6 years, but because they had the 4-year cooling off period, and then the seat that they want to run for just happens not to be open for another 2 years. So
Right.
it's just the way it falls, and not based on the way the legislation disqualifies them for 6 years.
So if they file the declaration for intent to run for mayor in this case, could then they be precluded from waiting 4 years?
Not the way it's written, right? I mean,
I know how it's written. I'm asking you, can you re-amend it?
sure. But yeah, we could certainly change it, yes.
That would,
that adds up essentially a penalty if you're in wards 1 and 3
right.
representing, because you have to wait 4 years and 2 and 4 only have to wait 2.
Exactly. Either way, there's a penalty on being in 2 and 4 or 1 and 3.
Yep.
Would it be different? And I'm thinking out a lot. I haven't explored. If the office of the mayor was somehow different, and we did have a categorical distinction, maybe that would alleviate the issue for the office of the mayor. Because right now we treat all offices the same.
Well, yeah, that would work, because then you could, if you were in 1 and 3 and you wanted to run for mayor at the end of your council, and I'm not running for mayor, guys, but if you're in 1 and 3 and you want to run for mayor, you could do so at the end of your term. But don't you have to resign from your council position?
Not if
in order to,
your term, I think if your terms don't overlap, is that right, Mr. Denmark?
Yes, and if there's a certain amount of time left in your term, I can't remember the exact phrase in the state statute, but not necessarily. There may be, based on the way the terms run, you may not have to resign.
So if I wanted to run for mayor in 2 years, are you saying I don't have to resign?
No, not right now. No.
I can run and keep my seat?
If you wanted to run for mayor in 2 years, I'd have to look at that statute again, Councilman. I apologize. I can't remember the way the statute reads right now. I litigated that statute a couple of years ago in Stonecrest, so I should know it cold, but I just can't recall how it reads right now.
actually, I think you do need to resign near the end of your term, if I remember rightly, but I could be wrong. Been wrong before.
I think well, I'm going to leave it alone because I don't have it in front of me, but because of the staggered elections, there's going to be a rub here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we need to consider. I don't know that this is quite ready for us to consider it, because it sounds like there's some issues that are going on here.
It doesn't change the math if we consider tonight or in 10 years until we fix the staggering. My suggestion would be, if you change the position that you want to run for, that you are precluded from the 4 years. And that would work out with either seat. It just depends on when they want it to run.
But what if I just want to move from one part of the city to another?
Or say I wanted to move to Ward 1 and run for Ward 1.
Right.
That's a totally different scenario from what we were just now discussing.
But what I'm saying is that I think we need to be able to contemplate some of these. I mean, before we put this in place, before we send this to the legislature and say, this is what we want to do in the city of College Park, we need to make sure that we've thought through some of these considerations and make
Right.
sure that
Right.
that we've got our ducks in a row. And that the 4 versus 6 years is something that we need to roll over in our head. And again, like if we say that it doesn't have to be 2 years, I mean, it doesn't have to be 4 years. If you're changing seats, then, you know, you could have somebody pick up, you know, if they've got rental properties, can move to a place that's got an election in 2 years. Is that what we want? Is that okay? Is that the intent of the body?
I think we need to go
get
back
together.
and think about some of these issues.
Do we have a time frame that we need to have this to the state courts?
Or I think we should definitely have it to the legislature by the end of January. Mr. Denmark, would you agree?
Absolutely, Madam Mayor. I think that, I mean, once the session starts, they still can consider it, but if you want to get something passed, that session, you know, late January at the extreme latest.
All right. So let's iron out some of these details and keep on moving forward.
Mayor, I have
Yes,
one other comment. I know what we said at the last meeting, but I'd just like to throw it out on the table again. I don't have any skin in the game on this, so it doesn't mean anything to me.
I hit leave.
But
Then they come up leave.
I'm sorry. WRWAKW. You are not muted. All right, Councilman Clay, go right ahead.
Okay, Madam.
as I say, I don't have any skin in the game, but I really wonder if it's unwise to force the limitation at 2 years. I believe we should have a limitation on term limits for a long time. I think that somebody that's willing to, personal opinion, I think someone that's willing to run for council really ought to be willing to sign up for 2 years. I know we can't force them.
2 terms, you mean?
2 terms.
I'm sorry, 2 terms. Ought to be willing to sign up for 2 terms. If we were to have council people changing out after each term, after serving only 1 term, I think you'd lack a lot of stability on the council. I think also, because you have the possibility of having 2 council people rotate out in 1 election, I think it's not a bad idea to consider having 3 terms as the limit as opposed to 2. Now, I know everybody else, the last time around, I'm bringing it up again, and I apologize for that. But I worry about too many rapid changes on council, just like we've had rapid changes in some of the other department positions I won't go into, but it makes me a little nervous. And if you guys still want to go with 2 terms, hey, you got the votes to do it. But I would just consider that.
I thought about it, Councilmember Clay, but then I would look at the state house. Their terms are only 2 years. And then the mayor of most of the major cities is 4, and the president is 4, but the senators is life term. So I don't know. That's a good point you're bringing, but the stability does work in those instances because their terms are even shorter.
We don't have to decide it tonight. Just think about it, guys.
All right. Appreciate it.
Madam Mayor, I have one
Yes, sir.
question for Winston. Is he also, is the resolution for the legislation for the tax exempt going to our lobbyists at the same time we send this in late January that we
Yes.
already voted on?
Yes, sir. I was planning on just trying to work with the lobbyists to kind of facilitate that at the same time, as opposed to kind of giving them legislation piecemeal. I thought it might be more efficient and effective to give both pieces of proposed legislation at the same time and have them kind of shepherd them through the General Assembly that way.
They not coming to talk to us like they do every year before the session?
That I don't know, but I was not necessarily waiting for that. As I understood it, we wanted to move this legislation forward, so I was going to do that, but I'm certainly happy to wait until the lobbyists, if and when they come and speak to the council.
I would imagine they will be here, probably at our next meeting or the meeting after that, but they come every year to tell us what's going on, so I wouldn't think that it would be any different. But I will reach out to Mr. Bolia and make sure that they are planning and that they've got it on their calendar. Anything else on this issue? Hearing none, we will move forward. I believe, yep, citizen remarks are next. Ms. Thornton?
Good afternoon, good evening, Mayor and Council. I only have one individual tonight for public comment, and that is Audrey Wilson.
Mayor Motley Broom.
I will set my timer for three minutes. Starting now.
Mayor Motley Broom, our esteemed councilman, the employees of this wonderful city, and all the citizens who are my neighbors. Assalamu alaikum and good night to each of you. My name is Audrey Wilson and I reside at 2024 Simmons Avenue. I am coming before the mayor and council tonight to say thank you. It is with humble gratitude that I adore each of you. I applaud you for your sacrifice of service to our city, to our community, and to the individual neighborhoods and citizens. I thank you for the unknown things that you do to move this city in a positive direction. The phone calls that you feel from citizens, the visits that none of us hear about. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My prayer for you in this season of change and gratitude and reflection is that your weaknesses in leadership will be strengthened for the good of us all, and that your strengths will be forever laced with compassion and respect. I appreciate you because the last 20 months have taught me that if I want to know the process of city government, then I have been afforded just that opportunity. My prayer for you is that you will stay well and that you will always be safe. And that as we move to the exciting possibilities, we won't try to go back to normal, but that we will try to go above and beyond, because we have learned through this that we are capable of more than we ever dreamed of. I believe we can do it. Why? Because we are humans, because we are neighbors, because we are College Park. Thank you, each and every one of you. Good night.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you.
Ms. Thornton, that's the conclusion of the folks who have signed up.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So if you would like to speak and you have not signed up, you have the opportunity now, if you are logged on, to click the raise hand button, and we will acknowledge you for 1 minute. Ms. Thornton, can you let folks know how they can log on if they wish to speak?
Sure. Anyone wishing to speak, please visit our website at www.collegeparkga.com. On the home page in the top green section, click on Government, and on the Government tab, select Council Meetings. Once you're on the council meeting page, scroll to the middle of the page, click on the council meeting blue hyperlink. And once you're in the meeting, please raise your virtual hand to be acknowledged.
Thank you, Ms. Thornton. All right. Mr. Hicks,
I'm
I
looking,
do
Madam
not
Mayor.
see anyone else who's
No.
raising their hand. We're going to leave it open for a few moments here to give people an opportunity.
Okay, I'm looking as well.
All right. Still not seeing anyone. So we're going to go ahead and move forward. Item number 6. We're actually going to take item 6A, B, and C. These are all Ms. Floyd Bradley's items on the agenda. Discussion and update on the top 10 delinquent utility customer accounts, delinquent property taxpayers, and also a discussion of the College Park Utility Assistance Grant Program. Any questions for Ms. Floyd Bradley on any of these items?
I just have one question.
Go right ahead.
When residents call elected officials and said that they were denied the COVID utility monies, do we have a process in place to reconsider?
Ms. Floyd Bradley?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, once the applicant is brought to our attention, I do contact the grant coordinators and they give me an update on why the applicant was denied. And most of the time it's pretty much they're not responding to any phone calls or emails, and we don't have all their proper documents. So then after about 2 weeks, if we don't hear from them, we send them a letter of rejection letter, basically based on insufficient documents in order to complete the application. However, at this time, the application process is closed.
Any other questions? Okay. Any other comments on 6A, B, or C? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Ms. Floyd Bradley. Item 6D is consideration of an action on a request for approval of an easement that will allow designated residential parking. Is this Ms. Washington taking the lead on this?
Yes.
Good evening.
And
again.
So this one we talked about last week, and we had some questions about the need for parking and our shared parking for this project overall. I believe that we got most of those answered, but we do have Sherry and Jeanette and Pavin all on the phone. They're all representing different parts of this project to answer any additional questions we might have on this particular issue.
All right. Any questions for any of the applicants or Ms. Washington in regard to this issue?
Mayor, I have a comment.
Okay.
I've looked at this pretty closely. In the last packet, we just got a color chart that shows who's parking where. Different buildings are parking in different colored areas. I asked some questions just prior to the meeting, got answers from Nikki on those. And I just want to restate them for the record. And that is, Nikki, that you are saying that all the requirements of our different ordinances that would impact this facility are being met by the parking arrangements that have been designed. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
With the addition of the 13.
Correct.
Okay, so this is this is not any, we're not approving any variance, if you will, to an ordinance as part of this, that all this is backed up by ordinance.
Correct, yes.
Okay. That's all I had. I got my questions answered before the meeting, and I've looked at it every way, which way, and I think it's a wonderful project. I just want to make sure we're not creating a parking problem.
Understood. Any other questions or comments on this issue? Hearing none, is there a motion?
So moved to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Councilman Gay. All those in favor?
Aye.
I vote no.
Hold on. I'm calling for those opposed.
I oppose.
All right. Thank you. Any abstentions? Where's Councilman Allen?
Councilman Allen isn't on the
He
screen.
is not on the call. Okay, so we've lost Councilman Allen for this
I'm
one.
checking, Mayor.
Okay,
I'm looking for him.
all right.
Well, it's his ward.
Yes, he was on, let's see.
I don't see him on anymore.
I thought it was strange that he had not.
He got disconnected. He's trying to get back on now.
Okay.
Do you see him, Mr. Hicks?
Yes, he's back. So
Okay.
he just needs to mute the mic. Let me send him a message. Councilman Allen, can you hear us? If you could unmute your mic. See if I can unmute him here.
There he is.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm back on now. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
There has been a motion and a second for approval of the easement that will allow designated residential parking.
I just want to make sure, and I don't know if it came on, just make sure that the sidewalks will be cut in. There will be no parking on what is now the street. Is that correct?
That's correct. So this will be, the current sidewalk will become the parking. They'll build a new sidewalk. So the parallel parking will be where the current sidewalk is in the city right of way. There won't be a change to the street width.
And that parking will be open to everybody until what time?
I believe they wanted to do 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. to designate it for residential parking.
And only between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. will it be designated for those people? Is that correct?
I believe that's correct. Is the app, can somebody from the applicants confirm that for us?
That's correct, Nikki and Councilman Ken.
Thank you, Shay.
And what about when and again, I apologize because I got cut off there, but when the other parking becomes available, will those go away completely or will they remain?
They'll remain as part of the condominium docs.
And you all will be responsible for monitoring that, is that correct?
That's correct. It will be monitored privately by the HOA.
Oh, the HOA is going to monitor it and decide who gets the cars removed?
Usually they will outsource that to a Park Mobile or a third party is how I've normally seen it done.
Is there a chance that if there's some additional parking that becomes available to the church now or in the later, those could be released back to everybody at night even?
No, Ken, we went over all this with you and Ambrose and Pavan explained in detail and showed you the parking plan. This is actually, and Ambrose said that he had no problems with this. This is actually an improvement for that street. And as Nikki said, when you got cut off, we've been through all the proper channels and gotten approved all the way to her. And so we've gone through every channel and all the different entities think this is an improvement for that street.
And you all are paying for that, correct?
Yes, and we are paying for it.
Okay. Was there a motion or?
Yeah, I made the motion, Ken, to go ahead and approve it. And I don't know whether you were on there, but I reviewed with Nikki that we had just what Reverend Jeanette said. We have jumped through all the hoops. I asked questions before the meeting, got answers, confirmation from Nikki that we're not making any adjustments to the ordinance. We're not, no variances. It meets all the ordinances that are in place. The one thing that needs to be, it's not part of this issue, but I confirm that the parking on the other side of the street is no parking. And we need to keep
correct.
and we need to keep it that way.
That's correct.
Correct.
And the parallel parking that we're proposing is also highly encouraged by the TOD zoning of your own city. So what we're
Right.
proposing is what is on your TOD zoning.
Okay.
Right. And I'm talking about, Jeanette, I'm talking about the other side of the street.
Absolutely.
That needs to be no parking, and that would be enforced by the city, not by the HOA or the church project.
Correct. That's it. That's correct.
And
I think we need to
I
maybe
think
look at-
the chief is on, and that is being enforced now. Is that correct, Chief McCrary?
Chief,
I think the other thing.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Interim Chief McCrary, go right ahead.
I missed that. I missed Councilman Clay's question.
The east side of Washington, across from the proposed 10 parking places for Project Ion. It's my understanding that that curb is painted yellow now, and it is being enforced as no parking. Is that correct?
It is
Chief.
painted yellow. I know that. I looked at that. I've looked at it.
Yeah, well, I want to make sure it's understood that it's got to be enforced.
I'm not sure if that one is on our list to make sure that we're watching it for parking, but I can make sure it's on there tonight.
Right. Okay.
I'd like to take the yellow all the way down to Temple if I could. You go down to, I forget the name of the street. You go down where the church where you're going to make the parking. Can we take it on down further, one more street into Temple where it ends? I'll have that done later. I'll have that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we're getting a little afield here.
Yeah.
There already has been a motion, a second, and a partial vote here. So I want to keep us on track.
Okay,
And
I didn't know
Councilman
you had a
Allen,
motion. I'm sorry.
that's all right.
I'll get with Melissa and we'll look at it this week.
Okay, so, all right.
You need to
Councilman
vote
Allen,
whether you're for or
wait,
against.
hold on, Councilman Clay. Councilman Allen, any other questions or
No,
comments
no
on
other
your end?
questions.
All right, so the vote was called and council members Clay and Gay voted in favor. Councilman Allen, how do you vote?
I vote in favor of it since they're paying for it and it's moved back off of the curb.
Okay, all right, that's 3 in favor. Councilman Taylor against, the motion passes. Moving forward. Item 6E is consideration of an action on a request for approval of the updating on city ordinances on the driveway apron. This is, I believe Mr. Myers is heading this up.
Yes.
Any questions for Mr. Myers on this issue? I know we had a discussion about it and retaining walls last time.
Yeah, I have, Mayor, I have an issue with the ordinance.
Okay.
It's okay. I'm okay with the owner of the driveway being responsible for the apron, even though it's on city right of way. As long as the apron is not damaged by the city or the road elevation is not changed such that the apron no longer matches up appropriately with the road. I mean, you shouldn't require the owner of the apron, if they break it, if they have a cement truck or some big truck come in and it breaks the apron and it's a hazard, then yes, the owner is responsible for it, fine. But if the city paves up the road 3 or 4 inches and now it's at an elevation that doesn't match up properly with the apron, I don't think the driveway owner should be required to build a new apron. And I don't think that the driveway owner should be required if for some reason the gas company comes along or the city comes along and puts in a new water line and in the process breaks the apron. They should be responsible. The city should be responsible for it. And I just want to make sure that gets into the ordinance.
Mr. Denmark, any thoughts about how that can be incorporated?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I think that would be a relatively easy fix. I think that would be the operation of law anyway, but to make it perfectly clear in our ordinance, I think we can certainly add that based on what the councilman said this evening.
Okay.
Comment.
Yes, go right ahead.
One of the things I'm seeing when I'm called out to homeowners' house, when they pour their aprons, they're not leaving the area that allows the storm water to run to the drain, and it's causing flooding. Is there anything in this ordinance that prohibits the homeowner contractor from pouring the apron into our spill well or the curb?
What you're talking about is that when a contractor is either building a new house or renovating a house, when they're redoing the driveway, they're supposed to put a 2-inch lip out there at the street. That keeps no matter if they're below the road or above the road, that keeps the water continuing to flow down the street to the storm drains. So a lot of times the homeowners, whomever they hire, the contractors, they miss that step for whatever reason. But they should be a lip to keep the water from coming down their driveways.
Is that going to be enforced by permitting? Because in a couple of instances, the water has actually jumped and gone into their yard. They think the city is responsible for now flooding. So my question is that something that building inspection is going to enforce, or is that something that
they get their permit through the building inspection?
That's an inspections issue. It wouldn't be germane to this particular ordinance.
No.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have one other question.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
You saying that the apron is in the city's right of way. Is it just the apron, or is it the entire length of their property is the city right of way? Or is it just the apron?
It's just the apron. Some aprons are 5 foot, some are 6, 7, 8, whatever the width of the street is.
But the remainder of
their
yard is not city right of way?
each one of the right of ways have various, some are 20 foot, some are 26, some are 30. It depends on where the street is and what subdivision. And at the beginning of time, when they build these homes, they come to the city and request through the city engineer that they want to come into the city right of way. And Mayor and Council has given us the authority, allow them to come across their city right of way and tie into the streets. So we're giving them permission to tie into to each one of the streets, but not permission to maintain it.
All right,
We're requiring them to maintain it, is what
Correct.
you're saying, Jackson.
Correct.
So
But
do we need,
with the exception that I pointed out, namely,
Yeah,
you have a problem with that exception?
No, we've always done that. Anytime we've had a water break or sewer or tearing up the sidewalks, the water department, sewer department send a street cut over to Public Works and the highways and streets. I want to start to say it backwards. They have a cut sheet and they go out and fix those streets, no matter if it's in an apron or a sidewalk or a curb. It's an SOP.
Yeah, but since we're going to formalize this in the ordinance, because we hadn't done that before, the ordinance, currently we don't have an ordinance that says you're responsible for your apron. Well, if we're going to formalize it that way, then we also need to add the formality that yes, the city, not just because we've always done it that way, but the city is going to be responsible for it if the city damages it or mismatches the street with it. That's all.
Or the gas company and so on, yes.
Yeah.
But
Any
so my
utility.
question, okay, gentlemen, my question is, given that, do we need to send it back to legal to get that language added, or do you feel comfortable moving forward with the assurances that we will make those changes?
Winston, can you make the changes? You think?
We can certainly make the changes. We'll have it for the next meeting.
Yeah, let's bring it back.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion?
So moved to bring it back, defer it to the next meeting.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second that. We need to see it written.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Taylor?
He's muted.
Aye.
Thank you, sir. That is unanimous. We will consider that at our first meeting of 2022. Item 6F is consideration of an action on a request for approval to updates to the city's multiple family dwelling on individual water meters. And this is something I think that was already addressed, but somehow didn't get codified. Any questions on this?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
It says multiple dwellings, but it includes buildings too, right? Like offices and
partial.
But it just say multiple dwellings. That language includes those businesses as well.
Mr. Myers?
From my understanding, it also includes, like, if you had if you subdivided your commercial and you had a jewelry store on one and you had a pawn shop in another and you had a clothing store in another, that each one of them needed to have their own separate meters.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Oh, yes. I may have missed it, but I still have had a problem getting an answer from legal on this question. And that is, this has been a state law for several years that sub-meters be installed. We have several developments in works. Do we, just because we're codifying this in our ordinance, do we have the right to demand that those developers, even if the development's just been started, must put in the sub-meters? Because it's been a state law for several years. And I can't get an answer to that question.
Yeah, we would not be necessarily applying our ordinance because we cannot if we pass, for instance, our ordinance tonight, and somebody was already in the middle of their construction, and they had already commenced it before the effective date of our legislation, then we could not apply our legislation retroactively to that individual. However, to the extent state law would impose the same or similar requirement, we could certainly insist upon that.
Well, do you agree?
State law requires a more restrictive. State law is more restrictive than what we had on the books. We can't be less restrictive than state law.
That's my question, Mayor. That's where I'm going. Why can't I have a strong suspicion that some of our developers may not be taking that into consideration. And they should be. And you can say, well, it's not in your ordinance, but it's state law. So I just want to make sure it's happening, because we don't need in 20 years for wasting hundreds of $1,000s on apartment complexes that go bankrupt because they can't handle the water issues. And we've had that. We have had that over the last several years. And this is why I'm so adamant on it. So I want to make sure that there is no loophole, that new apartment buildings must have sub-meters.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think that part of it is clear, but I guess my only hesitancy is the operation of the city's ordinance. And as I read the ordinance, it would track the provisions of state law. And so I did not understand that we were doing something that was less restrictive. I thought we were matching other requirements or the demands of state law. And so the new development would certainly have to comply with those provisions.
Not what I've seen from the rewrite of the ordinance. If you look at the markup of the ordinance, you'll see.
I think what I was saying,
a master meter is allowed, and that the cost can be allocated. Well, and that's being marked up. That's been marked out in the version of the ordinance that is being proposed to be approved tonight.
Yeah.
So that tells me that our ordinance has been less restrictive than the state, and the mayor and I are in total agreement on that. I want to make sure that our ordinance, so no one can come and say, oh, well, we didn't know. The state we looked at your ordinance and it's your fault. Your fault that we didn't put in sub-meters, even though the state requires it. Now that's the legal issue I've been trying to get addressed for a couple of weeks, and I haven't gotten the answer to it. So I'm going to get it tonight.
Let me ask it this way. Let's say we don't pass this tonight. Our code enforcement folks should still be able to go out and say, you are not complying with state law if you don't have individual meters, correct?
Inspections should.
Inspections, yes. I'm sorry, inspections.
And so, I have been working, Mayor, excuse me for interrupting, Mayor, but I've been working with Oscar on that issue a couple of 3 years ago. So he was doing this administratively.
But I mean, this is the way it should have been going since
2012.
Right. Like we're almost a decade. I mean, there shouldn't be any question, because state law changed. So we have to, I mean, if state law says that we've got to do something, we got to do something.
Well, we put up an apartment complex called the Pad. Does it have sub-meters in it? Anybody?
No.
No.
Why not then? That's a rhetorical question, I guess.
Okay,
I know,
great,
I can't answer
great.
that.
I was going to say, I can't answer it either. But I mean, there should not have been anything built since 2012 without one, regardless of what our ordinance said, because of what happened on the state level. Correct?
Yes, ma'am. And that's my entire point.
Okay.
And I agree with you. Yes, the state law would trump us, and nothing that we do can lessen the impact of state law. It's been on the books for a decade or near that long. And so, and it's fully enforceable today, right now, whether the mayor and council elects to pass this ordinance this evening or not.
Okay, but for clarity, wouldn't it be nice to have our ordinance reflect the state ordinance? And in fact, not say something that's different and less restrictive than the state ordinance. I think it would be nice to have it in agreement. And I want to know, we've got several developments in the works right now. Are those developments putting in sub-meters? Can anybody tell me that?
I do not know, but I can find out, Councilman Clay.
Yeah, I've asked that question too. It's amazing. I've asked these questions. I don't like ranting and raving in public meeting, but I've asked these questions over the last week or two, and I haven't gotten an answer to them. Well, if I have to get an answer in public meeting, I'm going to get it in public meeting.
Are you talking water meters or just both?
Water meters.
Water meters.
Yeah.
Water meters.
Well, in the developments that I'm aware of, it is in the development agreements that we've approved. I can't speak for anything in the past.
Well, let's do this. By close of business Friday, can we get a report on the ongoing construction of multifamily residences throughout the city and whether or not there are individual water meters going in each one of them?
Excellent idea.
All right.
And make sure that the ones that are going up are aware as well, that they have those ones that are projected.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
that's why it'd
absolutely.
be nice to have it in the ordinance. So that's the first place they're going to look.
Yes.
All right. So,
okay. I apologize for ranting, guys, but when I can't get a straight answer to the question, I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to roll over.
okay. So what are we doing about this?
Motion to table the ordinance until after we have matched it with the state ordinance.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Taylor? Councilman Taylor? I think you might be having some audio issues. So I've got council members Gay, Clay, and Allen in favor. Councilman Taylor, how do you vote? He's muted right now.
I will reach out to him.
Councilman Taylor, can you go ahead and unmute?
I sent him a message, Madam Mayor, to unmute, see if I could do it.
Could he also
I
turn on
sent him
it?
a text.
All right. Could he also turn on his video?
I don't think Zoom gives you that capability.
Yeah, I sent him a note to start his video as well.
I sent him a text as well.
Yeah. Right. The chairman of the meeting cannot, the operator of the meeting cannot turn on somebody's Zoom camera. I'm pretty sure.
No, I was asking him. No, I wasn't asking Mr. Hicks to do it. I was asking him to ask Councilman Taylor. All right. We got 3 in favor of tabling for some adjustments on this. And Councilman Taylor is unavailable. Mr. Denmark?
Yes, ma'am.
In regard to his vote, is he just unavailable? Just all council members present, or?
He's unavailable, and that you can't see my air quotes, but he's unavailable.
Okay. All right. The motion passes with 3 votes in favor. We'll move forward. Consideration of, and item 6G is consideration of an action on a request for authorization to make an application to the Georgia Transportation Infrastructure Bank. Any questions for Mr. Myers on this?
I just like to say he answered all my questions earlier, and thank you very much.
Councilman Gay?
Yeah, on pack a page, page 116, Mr. Myers. Am I to read this that the projects that you are considering through this Georgia Transportation Infrastructure Bank, I don't see any infrastructure projects in other parts of the city. So does that exclude us from having an opportunity to have projects from this funding?
It was according to the Georgia DOT, it was tied into the Camp Creek. And in order to get the transportation funds, we had to have it attached to the major artery. And what we're trying to do is to help offset the total cost of that $9 million for that road. And I'm trying to help with coming up with other funding so it doesn't stress the College Park.
So if we were to be approved for this, we've already approved the 9 million and some thousands of dollars. Are you looking for additional monies? Or are you saying that this would have an opportunity that we wouldn't have to use all of that funding and that money could be used for other infrastructure projects?
I'm telling you that what I'm trying to do, there's only 1,600 feet that went in there. And so we need an additional 2,000 feet to get up to Ross. So I'm trying to utilize it so it does help us with either additional infrastructure to get up the rest of the way, because it doesn't go all the way up to the Southeast Capitol. But if I can't get that, I'm trying to do anything I can to get any kind of funding to help offset and be able to get that solved.
Mr. Myers, I think the question that Councilman Gay is trying to understand is, in our last meeting, we approved the construction of Road Street with T-SPLOST funds. This $1.5 million and change that is being requested in this application, would that offset the 9 million? So we would essentially be coming out of T-SPLOST 8 million and change if we got this?
That's what I'm trying to do.
So yes, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Councilman Gay, you good?
Yep.
All right.
Mayor, I have a question.
All right, go right ahead.
When I read this, it seems like this was actually a proposal from 3 years ago, or parts of it were of a proposal from 3 years ago. I mean, for example, it talks about the BMW facility.
I understand. I made it on another one, but for some reason I uploaded the wrong one. But I'll make those change. Made those changes. I apologize for that error. You're right about the BMW.
Okay, so this is not something that was submitted a couple or 3 years ago. This is something you're submitting now. That's what's confusing me.
Yes, it's something I'm submitting now.
And some of the wording that you used in it was out of date and incorrect, and you're changing those. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Myers?
Can we see the change even though you can go on and submit it? When you change it, can you share it with us?
Of course.
Thank you.
All right. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Allen, are you in favor as well?
Yes, I said aye.
Okay. Sorry, I think it might have been a simultaneous aye. I think Councilman Taylor is still unavailable. Motion carries with 3 votes. We went backwards. There we go. Item 6H is consideration of an action on approval to accept a grant funding from the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority, or GFA.
I'm just going to move to approve. No, it seems like a no-brainer to
Seemed
me.
like a no-brainer. Yep. Is there
and thank you again. And by the way, Jackson, thank you for both of keeping working on both of these.
You're all welcome.
all right? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
That is 3 in favor. I believe Councilman Taylor is still unavailable. The motion carries. We have removed item 6I from the agenda. We're moving on to item 7A. It is a public hearing to consider the rezoning of 1905 Godby Road from C1 neighborhood business to RM multifamily residential zoning district. Ms. Thornton.
Yes.
You know what I'm going to ask.
Yes, if anyone would like to speak, please visit www.collegeparkga.com. On the home page in the top green section, click on Government. Under the Government tab, select Council Meetings. Once you're on the Council Meeting page, scroll to the middle of the page, click on the Council Meeting hyperlink. And once you're in the meeting, please raise your virtual hand to be acknowledged.
Thank you so much, Ms. Thornton. Appreciate it. All right. So, Ms. Washington, can you guide us through why we're here and what the proposal is?
Yes, so this property is currently zoned C1 neighborhood business. It's currently vacant. It's right on Godby Road, on the north side of Godby Road. The applicant is proposing to rezone it to RM, our multifamily residential district, for townhomes. They're proposing 16 townhomes. They are a smaller size than most townhomes, but they are not considered like a cottage home. They do meet the minimum requirements for RM for square footage, 5 bedrooms. They will be fee simple. There will be an HOA. I did discuss with Councilman Clay prior to the call about requiring percentage of them to be rental. We do have that in right now to be owner occupied, only allowing a certain percentage to be rental. We have that in right now at 75%. We spoke with the applicant about that. They're willing to enforce that through their HOA. We did discuss making that percentage higher, and of course the council can do that should they decide to. The applicant is on the call as well to give you a little more idea about the project. Mr. Hicks, that's Alicia Houston and Jim Nolan are on the call. If you can give them the ability to speak as well.
Okay, Ms. Houston can unmute her mic now. And I'm sorry, they could give me the other name, Mr. Nolan?
Yes, Jim Nolan.
Okay, they are ready. They can unmute their mics.
Madam Mayor, would you like to hear from them at this time, or?
Yes, please. That'd be great. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, Alicia, Jim, whoever wants to take the lead, if you have any other comments on your project.
We talked about this will have additional lighting. Is that correct?
Yes, there will be lighting required per code, street lighting. And we did talk about some security issues security concerns during the Planning Commission meeting. And the applicant did assure that there would be, I believe they're going to do ring doorbells and then additional lighting along the front of the homes.
And it will be fenced, not gated, but it will be fenced. Is that correct?
Correct. They are proposing a 6-foot fence around the entire property as a whole, but it will not be gated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's let the applicants, if they'd like an opportunity to speak, go right ahead.
Good evening. I just want to make sure everyone can hear me okay.
We can.
Wonderful. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Good to see everyone. Hope everyone's doing well through this holiday season, and I pray everybody can stay healthy and as we move into all that. I thank you for your time tonight. I just wanted to be on hand to answer any questions or concerns and give you a quick overview of what the desire is here for this property. I know it's one of our stated goals within the city to help develop more homeownership, given our rental rates being what they are within the city versus homeownership. We've got about 3/4 of the city as renters, and we're trying to increase that. And we're also trying to make homeownership more affordable within the borders of our city and create lifelong residents in accordance with our strategic plan. So what we want to do on this particular parcel, it's surrounded by a lot of different homes already, although this little pocket is zone C1. What we would like to do is turn this 2 acres into a pocket neighborhood where the homes are nicely built, but of a smaller square footage, and use that smaller square footage to make them more accessible as far as price. So we're looking to bridge that gap between the most of the homeownership in our city that takes place in historic College Park, and bringing that southward into this particular parcel, which is level and good for this kind of project and in a good location to help us bring workforce housing to the area. So I'm not sure what questions everybody would have for us on that, but that's the desire.
Houston, what is the price point or the proposed price point?
If we're pricing it today, the largest, most expensive units would be in the high 200s. Price is a moving target right now because of the cost of building materials. And by the time these are out of the ground, I'm not sure, but I did prepare some slides and send them to Ms. Washington that can at least give you a snapshot of our zip code today as it stands. But the smallest of the homes will be about 770 square feet. There's a small number of those, and then the majority of them will be in that 12 to 1,400 square foot range.
You said 1,400 square foot?
That would be the biggest.
Yes, sir, that would be the biggest unit.
Oh, okay, because when I talked to you all before, I thought it was around 1,100, something like that. So there will be a couple of them or so that'll be 1,400 square foot?
Yes, sir. We tried to provide a range just so that we would be accessible to more price points. Obviously, the smaller ones go faster in general, just because they're a lower price point. But the desire is to not have the 2,500 square foot units, because these days those are selling in the high 3s, low 4s in our zip code, and we're trying to create a workforce product. So the largest size will be about 1,400 square feet.
And for the smallest, the 770 approximately?
Yes, ma'am, 768 square feet.
768. And so what would the price point look like on that?
If we were doing it today, let me just pull up my chart here so I can give you a good number. At that square footage, we would be looking at about 225.
Okay.
So the range would be 225,000 upwards to the high 200s in today's pricing.
Understood.
And how many of the small ones you're going to have? I looked at your drawing. It looks like two of the smaller ones.
Good question. Let me pull it up so I can give you an accurate answer. I've got the documentation here, but I think that's right. It's 2 or 3.
Yeah, I just looking at the drawing I just was, I estimated it looked like there was going to be 2. So.
Yeah, let me pull it up. Mark up here. Yes, so those 2 units in the back, units 5 and 6, are going to be the smaller square footage. And then from there, it's a range typically between 1,000 to, on the high end, the 1,400 square feet.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ms. Houston or Mr. Dolan?
What do you plan? And I know thank you very much. I met with you too, and both of you, and you answered a lot of questions, but in the center, kind of like a courtyard area, what are your plans for that area?
Well, what my vision is there is we'll have some playground equipment, and we'll have, I want to have one of these water features where the kids can play. It has no depth to it, but it's concrete, and some benches, seating, just an nice open community area of having variety of things, and maybe some adult exercise equipment or features in that area. So, it's going to be we have only 16 units. So it's going to be something for just about everybody.
Any other
All right.
questions?
I don't have any. You
Go
answered
ahead,
mine.
Ken.
Councilman Clay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was pushing to reduce the number of rentals from 4 to 2. As Alicia said, we already have too many rentals, and we're not looking for these things to be rented out. We're looking for people to live here on a permanent basis and have skin in the game. And I can understand that you might need a couple rentals to tide you over a period of time, but to have 4 out of 16 or 25% of this small community, and it's going to be like a community. It's almost like a miniature neighborhood. I would think you would want people that were stable, that had bought the home and were living there. So I'm arguing that we should only have 2, which is consistent with what Nikki said. We have chosen in some other areas. Is that correct, Nikki? She's nodding. Yeah.
Yes,
Mr. Clay, let me comment on that.
Hold on, Mr. Nolan. Let Ms. Washington finish the answer.
Yes, the most recent one that we did was for the cottage homes. We did do those as 85%. However, there are a lot more of them. Technically, there's 29 of those. So in this case, there's only 16.
All right, Mr. Nolan, go right ahead.
Yeah, our thought there was as a protection to the homeowner to the extent that they ran into financial difficulty. It was never our intent to have anything like a rental community. So understanding your concept, I see no reason why we can't put in the HOA agreement 2 rentals out of the 16. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go right ahead, Councilman Gay.
Speaking of HOA, in the Windsor Forest townhome community of Gobby Road, I think that's across from 3100. I noticed, I wasn't on council then, but whoever approved it, as of today, probably less than 30% of the owners live there. They're mostly rentals. Is there anything, I'm just asking, is there anything that we can do or you can do to prevent this from just becoming an investor property with renters?
I believe we just addressed that issue, that we're only going to have 2 of the units that are going to be non-owner occupied.
Oh, no, sir.
I think I understand, sir, where you're going, Councilman Clay, or Councilman Gay, excuse me. And that is that you have to enforce the rule, or else people could turn them into rentals if the rule is not enforced by the HOA. Would that be a correct understanding of your question, sir?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, since you're talking about HOA and its enforceability, can that be something that we as a city put into the development agreement that prevents it from it becoming a rental property, but just owned by investors?
It's already in it's in the proposed ordinance that we are looking at, right? That we're looking at tonight.
Do you know what page?
That is packet page 196.
Have that been changed, Nikki, for my earlier comments, or is that still to be changed?
It's 4 of 16 in here.
Yeah,
3F. But I mean, that's what I'm saying, that we're already addressing that in here. If we want to change that and for the, for our purposes, that's perfectly fine. But I'm saying that it is spoken to in this ordinance.
Well, Mayor, I think there's really a legal question for Winston, and that is if the homeowners association, and this piggybacks on what Councilman Gay said, if the homeowners association doesn't do their job and doesn't enforce it, then what authority does the city have in this case, Winston?
I guess now is the time to establish that, because the homeowners association would be bound by what we enact, and so to the extent we do nothing, we would have nothing.
Right, but we're going to lay it out as the mayor pointed out, and it's in the ordinance. It's on page 196, packet page 196. So we put this in the requirements, and the HOA has to do this. And I'm just saying, great, we put a lot of things down on paper that sound really good, but when it comes to enforcing them, there's an issue. So how do you go about enforcing it? If let's say the homeowners association goes bankrupt or whatever, or ceases to exist, or can't find people to run on their board, and they're not enforcing this. And to Councilman Gay's point, 35% of those homes suddenly become rentals. What can the city do about it? And what do we need to put in place? If the answer is can't do anything about it, then what do we need to put in place now?
No. I misunderstood your question. Now that you've clarified, or at least for me, it would be our traditional remedies. I mean, it would be, to the extent they are not abiding by the terms, it would be a simple demand letter and then a potential litigation to compel them to do what they are obligated to do.
And that has teeth?
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly enforce our ordinances.
Okay, I'm not going to pursue it further as long as you're saying that we could make it happen. That's where I'm coming from. How do you make it happen?
Hold on. Once there's a lot of background noise. I'm sorry, Councilman Gay. I think it might have been coming from Mr. Nolan. If you wouldn't mind muting if there's some background noise. Thank you. Go ahead, Councilman Gay.
On package page 196, can someone please tell me which item address prohibiting the property from just being owner-owned and turns to rental property?
3F, starting on line 71. The homeowners association must enforce the provision that 75% of the townhomes or 12 of the 16 townhomes must be owner occupied at any one time.
And we just got agreement to change it to 2 instead of 4. So from Mr. Nolan.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
And maybe I've missed it. Maybe it's in here. I thought I read it once before, but you'll be responsible for maintaining until the HOA has how many members?
Typically, Councilman Allen, the declarant or the builder would control the HOA until most, if not all, of the units are sold, at which point they transition it over to the homeowners.
Until all of them are sold. Okay.
3E says 75%.
Okay.
And I can tell you in the links that we didn't actually have any rental restrictions at all when we all kind of bought our homes new in 2017. We actually, as an HOA of homeowners who had just invested in all of our homes, got together and did one. I can send a copy of it to you if you'd like, because it's we had the attorney that represents our HOA to draft it and put it together so that it shows the remedies if anybody ever violated the rental clause. We actually passed it after all the homeowners had taken over the HOA, just because, to your point, we wanted to kind of protect the integrity of homeownership within the community. I don't know if that would help, but I could send it along.
Yeah, I think someone would want to receive it.
Yeah, sure. Please send it to our city manager, please.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments for Ms. Houston or Mr. Nolan?
Oh.
Okay, hearing none at this time. Well, actually, Ms. Thornton, I want to tell people one more time how to access this public hearing.
Yes, if anyone wants to comment, they can visit our website at www.collegeparkga.com. On the home page, in the top green section, click on Government. Under the Government tab, select Council Meetings. Once on the Council Meeting page, scroll to the middle of the page, click on the Council Meeting hyperlink, and then once you're in the meeting, please raise your virtual hand to be acknowledged.
Thank you so much. At this time, I will declare the public hearing open. Looking for raised hands at this time if you wish to speak on this matter. Mr. Hicks, I'm not seeing anyone. Are you?
No, ma'am, I'm looking. I don't see anybody with a raised hand. I'm scrolling up and down. I don't see anyone.
Anyone waiting to enter?
No, ma'am, I'm in the attendees portal. Nope. No one on the panelists. And none of the attendees.
Any other questions or comments from the body? All right. At this time, I'm declaring the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve. I'd like to see a little bit more, a few more homeowners out on Godby Road. Yes.
All right. Is there a second?
Is that with the changes, Ken, to?
Right. I'm sorry.
With the change from
4 owner occupied to 2 owner occupied.
Renter occupied, you mean?
You mean two rental?
2 rental. I'm sorry, the other way around. Right.
4 to 2 rental. I'll second that motion.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
1,
Councilman Gay, you abstain?
yes.
All right. So those are council members Taylor, Clay, and Allen in favor. Councilman Gay abstains. The motion carries. Item 7B is a request to set a public hearing for a text amendment to reconcile zoning with the new alcohol ordinance. Any questions for Ms. Washington on this one? Hearing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 8A, consideration of an action on a request for approval to replace the power distribution unit located in the computer room on the 2nd floor of the FAA regional headquarters. Mr. Wilkerson is on the call with us if we have any questions for him. Hearing none.
Yes,
okay.
I have one question.
All right.
I asked why the amount went up, and without digging into it in too much detail, are we absolutely positively guaranteed that this new amount that you guys are going to get it processed to the point that they don't say, well, I'm sorry, the time limit has run out on our bid?
Yeah,
or whatever.
It's all been agreed. They're going to do it for that price. We do other business with them, and they're not going to jeopardize that.
Okay, well, I can tell you if it comes back again, I'm going to vote no.
No, it won't come back. You got my word on it. It won't come back.
And for the future,
yeah,
because there will be more of these things. We need to be clear about not letting bids run out, processing these things, getting the bids at the right time. They may have a 30-day limit, or I think in this case, they're talking even about a 2-week limit.
Yeah. It's very difficult, and it's a very fine line, because what you don't want them to do is pad it. I'm not interested in anybody padding her to buy them more time. And that's just really came up this last several months. because of the prices. It's just crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm very fussy about that when they give us prices. I want hard numbers. I want hard numbers. And so they do the best they can, but right now it's just real vulnerable. What I've been doing, I've been buying a lot of parts and keeping that where I won't have to get forced into this position. But it is what it is.
Okay. If nobody else had any questions, I'm going to move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposite? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Item 8B is consideration of an action on bids received for material for upcoming construction and lighting.
Move to
Motion
approve.
approve. I have a question.
Okay. Councilman Clay, I heard you first on the motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second. With
Thank you,
question.
Councilman Gay. Go right ahead with your question.
Mr. Richardson, on the background, you mentioned several projects. With the Hawthorne subdivision, are these LED floods or decorative street light like in the links, or both?
Yeah, these are just floods. We're mainly getting these to replace lighting for private lighting. We have a lot of high pressure systems still out there, so this is for that purpose. We have plenty. We have a few decorative still in stock, and we have plenty of regular street lights that's still in stock.
So we got enough for the Hawthorne station is my question.
If they want to purchase decorative lighting, then we could probably get that pretty quick.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Richardson? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Item 8C is consideration of an action on a request for approval to purchase distribution automation software and reclosers for electric power restoration.
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second the budget.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. Any questions or comments on this issue? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. Item 8D, Mayor and Council approval for renewal of a one-year contract for landscape maintenance services request. Any questions for Ms. Cole?
Yes, I have a question. I asked questions before and I got several answers, but I'm still a little fuzzy. The way I understand it now, we are approving this contract. It's a renewal in this case. It's the same supplier for the same price that we paid last year. Was that correct?
Good evening. It's Willis Moody, Purchasing Fleet Administrator. I'm representing Ms. Cole on this. Councilman Clay, I do apologize. The renewal for this is actually going to be $167,480. I believe last year's contract price was $201,000. So we have it down to this. And during the negotiations, Public Works will take over landscaping service at City Hall, but the contractor will remain on Main Street, the GICC and Arena Complex.
So I'm really confused because in the transmittal letter, it says that, no, I beg your pardon. Okay, the transmittal letter says 167,770.
Yes, sir.
So it's less than what it was last year. It's less than the other bidder, but we're doing less.
Right.
How is the scope different from last year? It's on the. I understand Public Works is taking over part of it.
Yes, sir. On the scope from last year, that did include City Hall. On the scope now, that does not include City Hall for the mowing portion. And in addition, Public Works is taking on the detention pond from the contractor as well.
Okay, so we're getting it for somewhat significantly less in cost than last year, but we're taking on more work ourselves. Do we know when it was bid out? Was it bid out with that reduced scope?
No, sir. This was bid out between October 6th and we opened it November 9th with the same scope as last year.
But the same scope as last year, but last year didn't have Public Works doing City Hall.
No, sir, it did not.
Okay, so they came back with a response to the bid. How, and now you've said that Public Works is doing more. So if they had bid the same scope as last year, what would the bid have been? Because that's what you put it out, didn't you?
Yes, sir. If they would have bid the same as last year, their price was going to remain the same, including the detention ponds at $201,000.
Okay, so what we're saying is they didn't raise their price to us, period. And we came back and said, and basically said, well, we want you to do less. And as a result of that, we're saving some money.
Yes, sir. With Miss Miller was on the call and Miss Smalls during that discussion.
Okay. Okay. Well, good. I'm glad we're saving money.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So can you tell me what package page is the bidders with their costs and the other criteria that we consider? I don't see it.
The bidder's cost, with this being a contract renewal, did you want that? I don't know if we...
No, because I attended the bid opening and I noticed there were at least, I could be wrong, but I noticed several contractors, including a few minority contractors, but I don't see in this item that you've given us any opportunity to see what the other costs were, who they were.
Well, not to cut you off, sir. We did have 12 companies represented at that pre-bid meeting that you witnessed. However, we only received 2 submissions, which was Russell Landscape and Yellowstone. Yellowstone was over 300,000. No other companies bid it. The minorities did do the site visit, but they did not place a bid in themselves.
All right, you've answered the question.
Thank you.
I'll move to approve.
There a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I'll oppose.
Okay. Any abstentions?
I'll oppose.
Okay. Councilman Clay, how do you vote?
I vote to approve.
Okay, so we have Councilman Clay and Councilman Allen in favor, Councilman Gay, Councilman Taylor opposed. I vote in favor. The motion passes. Item, do we have an 8E?
Thank you.
We've got item 9, no unfinished old business. We've got new business. Item 10A, approval of food truck ordinance.
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Gay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Item 10B, extension of the CDBG CARES Act grant funding term. I believe Ms. Thornton, can you share that with the group? And gentlemen, again, I apologize for the late nature of this.
If we run out of funds, why do we have to vote on it? Why do we need an extension?
I don't think everything has been dispersed. I think all the funding has been essentially accounted for, but not necessarily dispersed. And so this amendment extends the current grant term from September 11, 2020 through December 31st, 2021 to end instead on June 30th, 2022. We will certainly be through all of it at that time. And it was approved back in October by the Board of Commissioners. That is the only change. It just changes the grant term.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Gay and Councilman Clay. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous. Appreciate that. And again, my apologies on the late notice on that one. City Attorney's report.
Nothing this evening, Madam Mayor. Merry Christmas to everyone.
Thank you, sir. And City Manager's report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I wanted to give an update regarding the Juneteenth holiday that we voted at the last meeting. We did go back and do some research, and we found out that each full-time employee other than the fire and police department are budgeted at 2,080 hours annually. So therefore, with the adoption of the new holiday, there is no additional cost to the city other than the overtime for the police and fire department. So I want to make that clarification regarding our last meeting. And everyone, please have a safe and happy holiday.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Miller. All right. Report of Mayor and Council. Councilman Clay.
I just want to wish everyone happy holidays, Merry Christmas. It's been a difficult year, but we made it. And I'd just like to thank everyone on council, mayor, council, staff, citizens. I know citizens have been putting up with some things as well. Our first responders with COVID and some staff, reduced staff. We're all in it together, guys, and we made it through the year. So thank you and good night.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. Councilman Taylor.
Yes, I just want to say happy holidays to all the employees and all the citizens of College Park.
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. Councilman Allen.
First of all, I'd like to thank Councilman Taylor for his service. I think this is his last meeting, and I wish you well. It's been a pleasure working with you, and thank you for your service. And I echo what Councilman Clay has said. It's been a rough year on everybody, but you know, it was great to see everybody at Light Up the City and the Tinsel Trail and the parade. All the workers again gave a lot of their time, of their own money. They helped out. They went above and beyond. So thank you all very much. I appreciate everybody in the parade. I know I didn't win, but my truck was the best looking truck out there. So maybe I'll have a shot next year. Maybe I need to do a little bit more, but happy holidays, peaceful season to everyone. And we will see you next year.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. Councilman Gay.
Yeah, I want to send out a congratulations to the city of East Point for the announcement of the $110 million Commons development that they're going to be groundbreaking. That's our sister city. I'm very proud of their leadership. Is there any way, is she on? Renee Coakley, is there any way that we can get a few of the Main Street banners on the remainder of Main Street that Mayor and Council extended down to Herschel? There's about 5 to 7 street poles now that the hospitality market is coming back. We're gonna have a lot of visitors going over that area.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Currently, I don't have those funds in my budget. If I would receive direction on where those funds would come from, I would be able to provide the information. I think I've already provided you the company as well that we ordered those from, Councilman Gay.
No, I don't have the money. I was wondering, Ms. Miller, could we look at what possibly those funds could come from for a few banners?
I know we have a banner program going on now with the Skyhawks. So I know that the Skyhawks had plans on putting banners down that far, but I don't know that we have funding for that, but I will check.
So do you have about a time frame when the new street is going to open to the parking lot, the City of Atlanta parking lot there at Hospitality Way? I mean, beyond Hospitality Way?
No, I do not, but I will put it in the report Friday. I'll find out a date.
Okay. The other thing is that just a thought, is there any conversation we can have in the next council to maybe talk about reducing our garbage service to 1 day a week? I think maybe we could do a study to determine if do we really need 2 services, because I'm finding out that it's causing some other issues with other services. And that's pretty much all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Gay. First, I want to echo Councilman Allen's sentiments. Thank Councilman Taylor for his service to the City of College Park. It has been a pleasure working with you. You are a stalwart advocate for our employees, and that voice and that passion is much appreciated. So appreciate the hours that you have given us and your thoughts and your reflection, and appreciated working with you and wish you nothing but the best. Wednesday, we've got our senior summit at Camp Truitt, December 8th from 2 to 5. If you would like to sign up, please do so tomorrow morning, because we have lots of people who are interested, and there's a lot of great information that we're going to be talking about, including we've got someone from the tax assessor's office coming. We've got someone to talk about senior services through Fulton County, estate planning, health and wellness. It's going to be a great event. You can call 404-669-3755 to sign up. It's going to be a really informative opportunity to get together and learn some more about everything that we've got to offer seniors. On the 18th, Santa is going to be riding through College Park. And if you saw Santa in the parade, Santa will be back. And it is nothing but a great event. And so we are looking forward to that. More details to follow, but keep your eye out. Santa will be on the fire truck once more. And lastly, I'm going to echo everyone else's sentiments, but thanking all of you, because as I close out my second year in service to this great city, it is still such a privilege every day to serve as your mayor. And I thank you for giving me that responsibility, and know that I don't take it lightly, and that we are every day working to build the community that you deserve. I wish you and your family happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and we will see you in 2022. And the last thing that we need to do, the last thing I need to mention is on a sad note, we are mourning the loss of Eric Stipe, our former recreation director, who passed away late last week. He served for 34 and a half years in the city of College Park, and our thoughts and our prayers are with him and his family as they go through this difficult time. So his funeral is tomorrow in Noonan, and know that even if you can't be there in person, that certainly we are all there with his family in spirit. At this time, we need to go ahead and approve the executive session minutes.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Councilman Taylor, did I hear you?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, that is unanimous. That is the conclusion of our business. We'll see you in 2022. We are adjourned at 9:39.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, Gabrielle, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the stream.